Hello and welcome to a video on why the Albanian leader, Skanderbeg, is the best ruler at the start of a game in EU4. If you didn't know, Skanderbeg not only gives Albania 6 admin and military power with a morale of armies perk, Skanderbeg is also a 5 fire and 5 shock military general in EU4, which can massively help you against the Ottomans, and is one of the crucial advantages Albania have, and given Albania's situation in the game, they need all the help they can get. But before we begin, did you know 75% of you that watch our videos aren't subscribed? So, if you love EU4 history content like these videos, why not just hit the subscribe button? We begin this video by going back to 1415. Skanderbeg's father was an Albanian nobleman who rebelled against the Ottomans. It was customary at the time that a local chieftain, who had been defeated by the Ottoman Sultan, would send one of his children to the Sultan's court. This way, the Sultan was able to exercise control in the area ruled by the hostage's father. The Ottomans consequently forced Skanderbeg's father to send his son, Skanderbeg, to the Ottoman court, where he received military training at Edirne. Skanderbeg was trained at some of the best military schools in the Ottoman Empire and converted to the Muslim faith. After graduating from the Ottoman military school Edirne, Skanderbeg rose through the military ranks of the Ottoman Empire. Skanderbeg led Ottoman military campaigns against the Greeks. The Sultan, Murad, continued to give Skanderbeg favours and granted him land. Skanderbeg became one of the best Ottoman military commanders, and even stayed loyal to the Ottoman Sultan when his father rebelled against the Ottomans in the 1430s. Skanderbeg's father had to ask Venice for forgiveness for his son taking part in the wars against Christians. And it seemed that Skanderbeg would remain loyal to the Sultan, given the length of time Skanderbeg had fought for the Sultan. This was to change, however. In 1443, the Sultan ordered Skanderbeg to attack the Hungarian forces. According to one source, while Skanderbeg studied his new enemy, Skanderbeg reportedly learned of his own Albanian origins, as well as the tragic fate of his brothers. Now aware that his true people shared an allegiance with the Hungarians, at the Battle of Nice, Skanderbeg fled the battle with 300 Albanian troops and began his journey to Kronik. Disguising his small regiment as acting on orders of Sultan Murad II himself, Skanderbeg entered the Turkish fortifications at Kronik, and that night massacred the Muslim contingent stationed there. The following morning, a red flag emblazoned with a black double-headed eagle fluttered in the breeze over the city's castle. In March of 1444, during a meeting of Albanian princes, Skanderbeg was elected commander-in-chief of the Albanian army. The Sultan was furious and sent an army to deal with the rebellious subject. Skanderbeg's forces achieved more than 20 victories in the field and withstood 3 sieges of the capital, Kronik. In my opinion, there are 3 key moments against the Ottomans which make Skanderbeg one of the greatest military generals of all time. The first key moment we are going to discuss is the Battle of Torviol in 1444. Skanderbeg had around 15,000 men against the Ottoman Empire's reported 40,000 men. The odds therefore were massively in favour of the Ottomans, and it seemed likely that the Albanian rebellion would end here. Skanderbeg, however, had a plan. On the day of the battle, the Ottoman troops charged at the Albanians through a valley. Once the Ottomans were in combat, Skanderbeg had cavalry hidden within the forests on either side of the Ottoman forces. The hidden forces then sprung out and attacked the unguarded Ottoman flanks. This ambush completely surprised the Ottoman army, and consequently the Ottoman army was defeated. This was a devastating loss for the Ottoman Empire, and a decisive victory for Skanderbeg. All of Western Europe celebrated this victory over the Ottomans, and this was the first battle that made Skanderbeg famous. The second key moment is at the Siege of Kronik in 1450. The Ottoman Empire marched 100,000 men, led by the Sultan Murad, to Albania in order to siege Kronik and end the Albanian rebellion once and for all. Skanderbeg, meanwhile, was reported to have 8,000 men. Albanian morale was low, and it seemed like there was no way that the Ottoman Empire could lose this siege. But yet again, Skanderbeg had a plan. As the Ottomans began the siege, Skanderbeg used guerrilla warfare tactics to damage the Ottomans. Because of this, the Ottomans were never able to mount a successful attack against the fort. Over time, Skanderbeg reduced the size of the Ottoman forces, and eventually Murad lifted the siege due to the heavy losses he had sustained. Skanderbeg was once again victorious despite the odds mounted against him. Murad was scared of Skanderbeg and had no interest in fighting him. Murad eventually also died that winter as he returned home. The final key moment for Skanderbeg was the Battle of Albania, and it was seen as Skanderbeg's most brilliant victory over the Ottomans. The battle took place in 1457, with the Ottomans having 80,000 men, while the Albanians only had 10,000 men. As the Ottomans made camp, Skanderbeg rushed the Ottoman camp and surprised an unprepared Ottoman force. Despite the Ottoman troops, there was nothing the Ottoman troops could do to save the situation. This, yet again, was a decisive blow to the Ottoman Empire. Skanderbeg continued to fight the Ottoman Empire until his death in 1468. Although the Albanian resistance did eventually collapse after the death of Skanderbeg, this leader deserves praise for being able to hold off one of the most powerful countries in the world at the time. Consequently, Skanderbeg is one of the most powerful leaders at the start of the game in EU4, and it's no wonder why he is so overpowered in the game. Enjoyed this video? Why not check out some of my other EU4 history videos?